Carl Munson, and I'd like to help you start your own podcast. And I'd like to help you start it now. And I've got a quick and effective way of doing this. I'm going to share with you now the 3 principles that I use that I think you should be aware of to help you get started. Gearing up, stepping up and uploading, all the technical stuff, the 3-part process that takes you from creation through into production and into distribution, and how I can help you further should you need it. But actually, I think what you've got here is all you might need to get your podcast started today. I've been working in radio for over 30 years, and I've been podcasting for well over 10 years now. I'm host of the daily Good Morning Portugal show, which I've just finished presenting, and straight over here to tell you all about how to start your own podcast. 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, 850 podcast episodes on the Good Morning Portugal show podcast, with getting on for 200,000 total downloads now. My experience includes pirate radio in the 1980s, community FM radio in the 90s and the 2000s, and one of my proudest achievements, the creation of an online community radio station for disabled broadcasters in Devon in the UK, where I lived before I moved to Portugal. I love radio. I love serving and building communities, as well as helping individuals share their passion through the amazing technology that we have at our fingertips these days. It's quite incredible what's changed in the last few decades and how able we are and how easy it is to create our own radio and start our own podcasts. The one thing that differentiates me from other podcasters is I actually make some money from podcasting now as well. So I'd be delighted to help you start your own. I think I'm in a good position to help you to do that, and I'd be delighted to do so. Like so many things in life, creating an enjoyable and successful podcast, success, of course, is very subjective, and we can talk about that another time. But it's about having the right attitude and the right guiding principles, as I said, like so many things in life. And as a prolific content creator with an engaged and passionate niche audience, I've got these 3 principles that I'd like to share with you to get you started, and more importantly, to keep you going, as well as a step-by-step guide to the equipment and platforms you'll need for creating and hosting your podcast. So first principle is starting now and keeping going. Procrastination, though no doubt justifiable, it always is, isn't it, is a killer of dreams. So let's get on with it and make your podcasting dreams come true. Taking action cuts through blockages that you might have, the overthinking, the paralysis by analysis, whether they're real or perceived blockages. So let's start somewhere very tangible. The first assignment I'm going to give you is start your podcast today by giving your podcast a name, which leads nicely into principle 2, which is don't let the excellent spoil the good. Your mission then is to name your podcast. I want you to do that today. I'd like you to do it now, and it only needs to be good enough. Don't get into over deliberation, that paralysis by analysis thing. And your deadline is today. So remember principle 1, start now and get cracking, get writing the name of your podcast and its description, because I want you to do that as well as a follow-up. It's for publicity and distribution purposes. You're going to need that. It has to be good enough, not so excellent that it never sees the light of day. Is that a familiar thing? Start it now. Start it today. Make it happen. Do not procrastinate any more than you have already. That's me telling you off and urging you to get on with it. And for your to-do list for tomorrow, I want you to come up with a podcast description of around 150 words. Again, it doesn't have to be brilliant. It needs to be something. So crack on with it. And that leads us nicely into principle 3. Keep it simple. Whilst the creation, production, and distribution of your podcast can be complex, it needn't be complicated. If you create it with simplicity in mind from the get-go, you'll keep complication and frustration that inevitably comes from complication. You'll keep that to a minimum. Okay, let's move on to the gear now. I'm talking into the mic that you can see on the screen. If you go to my website, you'll see all the links that take you through to Toman. So I have a pod mic here. I have the wire coming from the pod mic into the most beautiful Rodecaster Pro, but the mic is sat on the boom arm, which you can also have the link to here. I am using the Rodecaster Pro. Formerly, I used a Tascam bit of kit. The links are there. I won't dive too deeply into all the technicalities, but if you need a guide on what to buy, you can copy my setup and it'll be very easy to do. However, I have to say, and use your laptop or your existing PC. Don't make another delay. Oh, I need to upgrade. If you're watching this, chances are you've got a good enough laptop and PC to make a show. I have to say, as you can see here, there is a smartphone in that picture. Go with what you've got is a sub principle, if you like. You've probably, if you have a smartphone, you have all you need to start podcasting, and you don't need to build in any further delays. Get going, and you can always upgrade your equipment. Don't make it a blockage. The platforms I'm using, the one I'm recording this on is StreamYard. The one I distribute on is Spreaker. Canva is how I've made all these graphics here. Again, I'm not the best graphic artist in the world. I don't let the excellent spoil the good, though. So I use Canva, and it's very good. And it produces stuff that's good enough to share with you as I'm doing now. I also use WeVideo when I need to. If I do use post-production, I prefer not to post-produce any more than I have to. And of course, there's Audacity and Google Sites. This is a Google site. It's free. I have been trapped in the WordPress maze and all of the complication, frustration, and depression that creates. I don't do that anymore. I use Google Sites because I keep it simple. Okay, keeping it simple, let's break down the podcasting process into a three-part process now, namely creation, production, and distribution. When it comes to content creation, set up your show event. You've got your name now. If you follow the instructions so far, by the end of today, you'll have a name and you'll have a description. And I want you to go ahead and set up a show event. Go live and press record. Yes, I'm taking you there straight away. Press that button and make a start. And then show up, speak up, and create your episode. When you finish, stop, save it. Don't forget to save it. And importantly, set up your next one, because you'll be thinking of all the things you should have said, you didn't say, the things that came up during the show. If you're a live streamer, you might have an audience that brought things to you that you didn't factor in before, that can trigger your second episode. So set it up, get into your routine. It creates a good enough pressure for you to stay creative and ultimately prolific. Content production, then download the content that you've saved, that you've just created, edit it if necessary, but preferably not. The beauty of using the software I'm using to talk to you right now, the StreamYard live streaming software, it will give you the most bang for buck. It will save you time. Live recordings are scary. It's an art that you need to get your head around, and you'll only get better at it by doing it. So I would grasp that nettle. I would face the fear and do it anyway. It's so much more efficient to work live and then download what you've recorded rather than loads of post-production. The best energy spend of time is in front of the camera talking to your audience, okay? Not being hidden away doing all your post-production. This stream will optimize the sound quality, will optimize the video quality, and it can stream to YouTube, your YouTube channel, your Facebook profiles and pages, to Twitter even, and other platforms, those other ones that I don't know much about. Your video and audio files will be available to download as soon as you've finished. It's a really smart way of doing this. And then we go into distribution, the all-important sharing of your work. And the beauty again here is to multitask, is to get bang for your buck. So share your downloaded content to your podcast platforms. When I go out on YouTube, I take the audio file from StreamYard and then I put that out on Spreaker, and Spreaker will send it out to most of the big podcasting platforms for you at the press of one button. You don't have to go and upload to all of them. So your iTunes, your Spotify even, and all the others. I don't even look at my stats on there, but I take it for granted that Spreaker is distributing everywhere on my behalf at the touch of one button, saving me time so I can be in front of the camera and promoting my podcast rather than doing all that promotional work and wasting a lot of time and getting frustrated. So after you've done that and Spreaker has taken care of it and shared to multiple podcasting platforms for you, you can do a bit of social media, but Spreaker also does that for you if you connect it up in the right way. Okay, that should be it, quite frankly. You've got all you need there. That may come as a shock to you, but you've got everything you need to get cracking and start your podcast today. If you do want extra help, and if you found that useful, feel free to buy me a coffee. You can press the support me on coffee button, several coffees if you prefer. And if you need help, if you don't feel very confident, if you want to break through things like creating content out of thin air, if you want to develop confidence on air with guests, if you want to break through writer's block and creative constipation, I think I've mastered that. If you want to smash through blockages to creativity and productivity and to success, if you want personal development through self-expression coaching, if you want to make your processes more efficient and enjoyable, and if you want to innovate, collaborate, and build a niche or community, as I've done, I think successfully, then you can join my podcast gym. The link for that is will be in the YouTube notes or any other notes where you're hearing this podcast. And the podcast, Jim, let me just tell you very quickly before we finish, is resources like these and mentoring from me, a weekly call, a Zoom call where we get together and we go through a troubleshooting process and ask any questions you want. And all important, on demand email, WhatsApp support. If you get hit a blockage, let's get through that really quickly. And you'll be able to, if you're in my podcast, Jim, you will be able to just drop me a line and I'll get you through that blockage as quickly as I possibly can. And there you go. You can see a couple of happy customers there. Thank you, Sandra and Stacey. Working with Carl has been so easy and enjoyable. He made the whole process so simple and doable and really inspired me to get on with it. Yes. Okay, that should do it for the time being. If you need any help, get in touch with me, podcast@carlmunson.com. I do appreciate you listening this far. And sincerely, I do want to help you to start your own podcast. And ideally, I'd like to help you do that today. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.